Hello everyone. How's winter treating you? Where I live, winter likes to arrive fashionably late. Like an old friend who never shows up on time but still expects a warm welcome. It's only now drifting in, which means I've got to start stocking up on dry firewood for the cold months ahead. Speaking of firewood, it reminds me of my neighbor, the one who borrowed my trusty axe for days without a polite word. And when he finally returned it, the edge was so dull it couldn't offend a stick of butter. But never mind. I've always been the sort who prefers peace over quarrels. So while we're at it, let me help you pick a few grinding discs that actually fit the job. To be fair, it's also been quite a while since I last maintained my axe, and that's partly why it lost its sharp edge in the first place. With the edge this dull, the axe is really only at a mid-level slump. Once I get to work on it, bringing it back to shape won't take long at all. Right here in my hand are the 3 grinding discs I picked earlier. We'll sharpen the axe step by step, using them in proper order, steady and simple. When we start with an A80 flap disc, the only goal at this stage is coarse grinding, removing the dull, fatigued metal and bringing the bevel back to its proper shape. An 80, being a medium grit, cuts metal quickly enough to reset the edge, yet not so aggressively that it gouges deep scratches. In coarse grinding, the priority is maintaining a steady angle, using light but consistent pressure and making short, even passes so the entire edge contacts the disc uniformly. You're not aiming for sharpness here. The task is simply to straighten the edge, clean up the worn metal, and rebuild the foundation of the bevel. Heat control is crucial. Pressing too hard will raise the temperature fast, and any color change in the steel, straw, or blue means overheating. So you grind a little, lift the blade, check, and let it cool naturally. At this stage alone, a 80 acts like a workhorse tool whose job is to clean, shape, and restore the edge to something solid before any refinement happens later. But right now, we stay firmly in the coarse stage. In this part, I'll walk everyone through a bit of proper grinding technique before we get into the real work. The rough grinding step is done, so now we'll switch to the A120 flap disc before moving on to polishing. Just follow my grinding technique the same way as before. The A120 disc sits in the medium fine range, perfect for removing the deeper scratches left by A80 and smoothing the axe edge evenly before polishing. It still has enough bite to refine the surface, but it won't remove metal too aggressively, giving you better control and preventing edge chipping. There's one last step that many people tend to skip, and that's polishing the axe blade. I know some of you might want to stop here and get to work right away, but let me explain something. The grinding stone disc in this final stage acts like the finishing touch on metal. It doesn't remove much material anymore. Instead, it focuses on smoothing and brightening the blade surface. Thanks to its stable friction and hardness, the stone disc clears out the faint scratches left from the flap discs, adds a light sheen, and helps the cutting edge look cleaner and more refined. Before testing its sharpness, I'm going to clean the axe blade using a bit of multi-purpose oil and an old toothbrush. This helps lift off metal dust, grinding residue, and any leftover oil, so that when we test it later, we can clearly see just how sharp the blade has become. After cleaning it up, the axe looks almost brand new. So shiny it makes me want to put it in a display cabinet. Just kidding. Anyway, let's take it out for a test right now. Turns out there's a small hiccup, so I can't make it to the licensed logging area to test the axe on a proper tree. For now, I'll have to settle for trying it out on a small branch. Hope everyone's okay with that. Trust me, I'm just as disappointed, like getting ready for a grand feast and ending up with only the appetizer. Although I couldn't satisfy you by chopping down a bigger log, I hope today's little journey of restoring this old axe still gave you a spark of inspiration. Every tool brought back to life reminds me that with a bit of care, even the dullest things can shine again. Thanks for staying with me until the end. See you in the next project, where hopefully I'll get to cut something bigger and a whole lot more fun.